Stugotz, I am legitimately quivery, not confident, not quite myself. I'm a little bit scared of how it is that we're doing this because it's not just my heart that is broken, it's all of me. I'm a bit short-circuited. It takes me 45 minutes to get out of the house because my decision-making is bad. I'm in a bit of a zombie fog. Yesterday was the worst day of my life, and I fear that it's about to get worse because, my parents had visitors from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. yesterday, and that's a nice distraction. But the funeral services generally, when people are grieving, it's 10 days later that I try to check in with them because the parade sort of moves on. Life moves on. People get past the shock and get to other things. And I was deeply moved by an overwhelming outpouring from people yesterday who don't know what to say. So it's some form of condolences, thoughts,
Sure.
prayers, but they know I'm in a certain kind of pain because I've lost my only sibling and a connection that I've never had before and will never have again. It's the only kind that I'll ever have. So when people try to say that his spirit will live on, and it will, I mean, he's painted this city. It's on the side of buildings. It's on cruise ships. Like, my brother painted this city. His spirit will live on, but in the pain of today, I'm lost. And like I told you yesterday, my wife doesn't think I should hide and work. I've done that all my life. It's what my parents taught us more than anything. Exiles get to freedom by working. I'm of the opinion that work killed my brother, that it was the paints. He had no reason to have that kind of cancer. There's no precedent for that in my family. It's the way that he worked. Like a lunatic, because he did it the hardest possible way, so much braver creatively than I am. There's no health insurance or employers in trying to make life as an artist. And once he got to being able to do it as a career, he was so grateful for it that all he did was work until he expired too soon. And I know that because of the daily repetition of what it is that we do around here, you lost your mother, and you and I have talked about you feeling like you never got to properly grieve that you immediately...
Still haven't, yes. Yeah.
That you didn't sink into it, that distractions were easier than being able to actually spend time inside of the pain and learning about things that need to be learned that can't be taught merely by living. Like when people die on you that you care about, and that loss is forever, no matter how many people come with condolences and tell you that the spirit lives forever. I cannot talk to my brother anymore. I cannot say anything that's heartfelt to him anymore. You didn't feel like you properly got to grieve your mother, and we immediately went to jokes.
We did. Listen, everyone grieves differently, Dan, and so even with my wife, because she said the same thing, why are you going right back to work? And I said to her, I just want to laugh. I want to be around people that care about me. And that was very important to me at the time. I'm not certain I did it the right way, but it was my way. And it did kind of help me through a very difficult time, just being around you, being around the show, working, having something to do, not left alone with my thoughts. But again, I'm not certain I did it the right way because I'm not certain I have grieved her death correctly, even 3 years later. But I can tell you that work and laughter did help me get through a very difficult time in my life.
the number of people who care about you in these instances is truly touching. And I suppose that it's some kind of soothing and solace, but it really does feel like putting a bandage on cancer. I will tell you, my brother was a life force that was giant. Even in the hospital in his last days, like he was, my God, his wife, Brenna, such a pillar. May we all have people who take care of us at the end like that. My brother's body, the lower half of his body did not work for the last 6 months of his life. He was bedridden. He could not get out of bed, and he was in a great deal of pain all the time. But being inside of that love, knowing that the days were numbered with his wife, he did an art exhibition in the hospital where nurses and doctors would come over. And I can't explain to you how rare a person has to be for doctors to come in on their off days with their children to paint with him, or doctors who have stopped treating him to continue to come back months later. There is not anything that is going to heal that for me today. They say that time will heal that. I'm not totally sure of that, because what I've had on me for a year is a borrowed sickness so profound that I feel it physically on me all the time. And now I miss it. And I don't want to make this, I don't want this to be the show we're doing. I don't want to be macabre about this. I don't want to be maudlin about it. I don't want to be out here crying every
Dan, you
day.
can make this whatever you want to make it. The audience understands. The staff understands. If talking about this into a microphone with us around is something that's cathartic to you, then that's fine. No one's going to judge you here.
I just want people to know him, and I don't feel like I could do that in a day, in a eulogy, in 10 minutes, in a month, because this love is not something that I've ever felt before, and I'm not going to get to feel it again. I don't, when you hear people talk about a piece of me is missing. Like, I don't know what the greatest sibling connections are supposed to feel like for everybody, and I don't know what I don't know spiritually. But being with someone for half a century and being with him in a way that I raised him, like my father is emotionally limited, and I was 4 years older, and so I was his older brother, but in some ways I was like his dad. And when I see my parents suffering the way that they say that human beings will feel no greater pain than the loss of a child, I feel like a part of me is just missing now, and it's not missing temporarily, that it's gone forever. You remember at Pat Tillman's funeral that his brother was drinking and was like bothered by all the mythology around his brother, and was hardened by life and the grief of that moment. And he said, "Don't tell me about he's in a better place. He's just dead. He's just dead. He's gone. Don't talk to me about those things." And I want to believe in those things. I feel something on me that I've never felt before, but this is faith rattling. Like it is doubt soaked on on something that I never imagined, a grief I never imagined having to feel. I don't know how many of the folks in our group have consciously thought of someone younger than them that they love dying. I don't know why I was such a fool as to think that this was going to go in some sort of proper order. How I could be so dumb as to think, well, I'll bury my parents and then my brother will bury me. That's how that one's going to go. And so now you wake up in the morning and you're
strange that you of all people would think like that. I mean, but that's the way most people think, Dan.
I mean, I don't think that I've had a larger blind spot than this. Like it's just not something that I could conceive. And then to watch in horror as the biggest life force I've known gets weaker every day, but is fighting his ass off because he doesn't want to go, because he doesn't want to, leave behind the love that's in his room. Because I told you yesterday that there were moments of such profound serenity and beauty to see Brenna in that room next to my brother's deathbed, a bed that he could not get out of without the help of 3 people. To see her embroidering and listening to music and just super present in their love and not needing anything else in the world because life had gotten so small that was enough and that there was serenity in it. I could see the beauty in it, but then it was still alive. Like, I could talk to him. He was there. It was a torso, this disease that my brother was diagnosed with late-stage cancer a year ago. He wasn't supposed to get this far in the process. And he was so weakened by it that the antibiotics, the pain medicine, the chemotherapy, the medicine, the cure, ends up being as harmful to the body as the disease. Because cancer doesn't kill you, right? Cancer is not the thing that kills. It's the infections that come after the cancer that kill.
But Dave wanted, because you and I spoke as this was going on, Dave wanted to fight. And I think he wanted to fight to have moments with you, to have moments with his wife, to have moments with your parents. And I do believe, Dan, and whether or not you're going to take solace in this or not is entirely up to you. But when my mom passed away, my mom was in a lot of physical pain every single day. And so I guess the solace I took in her passing away was she is no longer in pain. I don't know if she's in heaven. I don't know if that stuff exists. Nobody does. But I know I felt some relief that my mother finally did not have to deal with the daily pain that she was dealing with.
I found not just solace, but profundity and illumination. I told you yesterday that I was able to speak with him very closely to his ear as he took his last breath before the machine flatlined. And it did not dawn on me, even with the pain medicines and even everything that was going on with his suffering and the amount of pain that he was in. It didn't dawn on me the peace that you're talking about until I looked at him after he had taken his last breath. And he looked so much more peaceful than he had for the entire year that I had to witness his deterioration because he was done. Yeah, that was the only solace I could find there, that he was no longer in pain and that he no longer had to fight. But I'm not going to keep the whole show here, and I'm embarrassed that I've done this again. But just know, Miami, because this is the local hour, just know that how much you meant to him as a city and that my family felt everything it is that you were offering us yesterday as a city that cared about him and that is painted colorfully by him in a way that can't and won't be forgotten.
Dan, I started to think about Lebo after the show yesterday and your parents and your entire family because the way you did it, and we mocked you after you left, was a bit strange, where I found out about the news when you turned on the microphone and revealed the news to us. And so we had show to do, and we got through the show, and I realized after the show that you had lost your brother. I had lost a friend. Mike had lost a friend. That your parents, who I texted with yesterday, no parent wants their son or their siblings to go before they do. And so there is a different feeling for what you are going through than what I went through with my mom, who passed away from COVID. But, you know, she was 73 years old at the time. Your brother was 50. But I started watching these videos that we were tweeting out on our feeds of your brother, of some of the times he came in the studio, and it kind of dawned on me that you guys were so opposite, because every room that Dave walked into, Dave was the coolest guy. The second he walked into that room, he became the coolest guy in the room. And I have no doubt.
I'm the opposite of that.
The complete opposite.
You are the complete. I mean, Roy would know. I think Whitty would know as well. You are the complete opposite. Oh.
What?
Oh,
when did you show up?
I know. I
don't think Dan's the least cool person in every room that he walks into. That's a harsh critique, I would say.
That's because you're in that room too.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah.
Dave had a swagger.
Should I be here?
I don't know. Why are you here?
Dave had a confidence. Dave knew he was the most talented guy in the room, probably the best-looking guy in the room, and certainly the coolest guy in the room. And I have no doubt that when Dave, whoever the coolest guy or the coolest person in heaven is, they were replaced by Lebo yesterday, okay? Because he strolled in, you know, he had a paintbrush, he was doing this, he was doing that, talking some smack, and instantly he became the coolest person up there. But I do marvel at how close the two of you were, knowing how opposite the two of you were, because you, my friend, you're talented, but you ain't Lebo. I mean,
Stugotz, top 5 coolest people in heaven. You got a list?
I mean, Lebo's number 1. I got to think about this for a second. Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah.
This is a top 5 list I never thought I would construct. I am happy to do it. I'm putting it together right now. But I had trouble.
It's the job you were born to do.
I had trouble focusing, Dan. I'm telling you. I was taping with Billy after the show. We're talking to Ron Say, the Penguin, and I could not focus. I know it's a weird sentence, okay? But I could not focus on Ron
Being
Say.
mournful while talking to Ron Say.
Ron Say deserved better. I got to be honest with you. I gave him nothing. I was just floating in and out of the interview. The Penguin definitely deserves better. But I will tell you this. I did find a second there where I was completely focused on the Penguin, and I pitched him a podcast idea. Final Say. And I offer because he is old.
Afternoons on FS1.
He's got no time for relief pitchers starting baseball games. He hates it, okay? What happened to Fernando Valenzuela? I mean, 9 innings every 3 games, Rod Say said. And I said, you should do a podcast called The Final Say. And I offered to co-host it with him.
What say you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So he was not a fan of the opener.
No. But once I locked in and got engaged with Say, we were good. But I was floating in and out of that interview because I just found myself thinking about what you were going through, what your parents were going through, and top 5 coolest people in heaven.
Say what you need to say.
Hey, say it ain't so.
Sammy Davis Jr., Whitty.
What a weird thing to say. Coolest people in heaven, you know, we're talking about, like, you know, presumably the coolest people are still with us, right? So whose coolness stands the test of time? Sammy Davis Jr. for me, Clive.
Oh, Jesus.
Like more than Jim Morrison, more than Jimi Hendrix.
Jim Morrison is excellent. Jerry
That's
Garcia.
I mean,
Bob Marley.
Jerry Garcia? You go with Jerry Garcia on cool?
we seem to be stuck in music.
Yeah,
I mean,
Whitty, thanks for being the most awkward thing on this show today.
Well, how awkward was that first segment for a shipping container that includes Brad Williams, who's performing at the Dania Improv,
Miami Improv?
That's
okay.
That's a fine.
Whoa! I got an email yesterday.
Fine free this
I got
weekend.
an email yesterday.
You don't have to pay it.
I'll pay your fine.
Yeah, Stugotz will pay the fine. Miami Improv.
Going
That's
a little
okay.
too far. I don't have cash though.
I owe you. Oh, that's another fine.
It's in Doral.
What are the details on your Miami Improv appearance?
Thursday,
Brad?
Friday, Saturday at the Miami Improv in Doral. 5 shows.
D-Town, stand up.
Whitty, why are you here? What are the story? What is the story behind you? I'm happy that you are here, but it kind of fell out of the sky. You haven't been here in many months. You graduated to a big time Apple job. You're now covering the biggest athlete in the world and the biggest story here locally. And it feels for a long time now like you don't have any time for anything that's around here. And as I see you, I'm getting emails. Among all of the condolences, I got emails yesterday that the people at WFAN were complaining on air that Stugotz was indeed a last-minute cancel yesterday. He was supposed to do the Monday show on WFAN, and it made me think of why it is that you left here, because you no longer wanted to
Last-minute cancels?
He looks alive. I mean,
he looks so much fresher
Sorry
now
about
that he
that.
doesn't have to deal.
That and the makeup artist. You guys got a makeup artist.
choice
This
of
is
words.
incredible. I mean, life has changed significantly. I've actually been at the Elser the entire time, doing some work behind the scenes for the last 4 months, and I was summoned from my dungeon. It was an actual summon. It was slipped under the door in the dungeon here at the Elser, and I popped up, and I felt like a friend. You need a hug today. I haven't had the chance to give you. I would like to give you a hug today at some point.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like we all, as a collective, need to be emotionally there for our friend.
Only one watch for Whitty today, which feels
Yeah.
kind of weird because
That's
you've been
shocking.
the 2-watch kid.
Yeah,
and now it's only one.
I've been knocked down by the superior. No, I just decided I'm only going my Apple Watch as a company man.
Jessica, why did you make a face at Whitty? And I've missed that face that you only seem to reserve for Whitty. Why did you make a face at him saying that he wanted to hug me?
He just says so many strange things. But I bet you liked living in that dungeon, you little weirdo.
I did. I love a dungeon. I just sort of read every day. I read some books.
You should check out what's in there while he's here.
How awkward was that first segment for you guys? Because I need to move away from some of this subject matter. I'm going to drown in it if this and ruin the show if I continue to do this. But how awkward was that for you?
If you can't spill your soul the day after your brother passes away, then when can you? I think
this
it's,
audience
it's
especially,
part of
yeah.
it's part of grieving. Like I don't mean to have it turn towards me, but like I lost a friend suddenly in December in Grant Wall. We were supposed to record that night, and suddenness, which wasn't really a part of this situation because you've had a year, but even still, there's still a suddenness to when it actually happens. And the most bizarre thing is in the 7 months since I lost my friend, it still comes up on me at random times. And you question yourself as to, like, am I doing this correctly? Like, there's a correct way to grieve, like Stugotz was saying as well. Is there a correct way to do this with my mom or with my brother or your friend or whomever? But there isn't really a correct way. And so if you want to get things off your chest and expose the audience to who your brother was, that maybe we saw a version of him. We saw the version that was an incredible artist that didn't know sports. Like, we created a character around Lebo here on the show, but that's still an incomplete picture, at least to you.
Suddenness has to be worse. It must be for people who grieve on not being able to get to say things and just having the finality arrive without warning. That has to be too. If I had been blindsided by this, it would have been so much worse. Like, I couldn't help but see in front of me every day that this was coming, that this was off in the distance, and yet still somehow I find myself all the time, and have found myself all the time for the last year, feeling like it was happening to someone else, like it wasn't actually real, that I had disassociated or coped, or however it is that one has to arrive at, this isn't actually happening. This can't be so.
I tried to tell you throughout the process to be grateful for the time. that you had with Lebo. And I know that you were grateful for that time. And I know you said a bunch of things that you wanted to say. He probably said a bunch of things that he wanted to say to you and to his parents and to his wife. I was not afforded that opportunity. That's why I was on you so much about spending as much time and saying as many things as you need to say to Dave before he passed away. I could not do that with my mom. I hated that I could not do that with my mom. I had to make decisions on behalf of my family for my mom that I don't wish any kid ever has to make for their parents, for one of their parents, for anyone in their family. It was a very stressful time. And what I miss the most and what bothers me the most, and we shouldn't do comparison shopping here, but I am glad you had that time, because what I would not give to have even 15 minutes just to talk with my mom before she passed away. And like you, I talked to her on the phone. She died of COVID. I could not go see her. But I talked to her on the phone right up until her last breath. And man, I just wish I had the time that you had, that you were afforded. And I'm happy for you, Dan, that you took advantage of that time, because I know you and Lebo over the last year, especially the last few months, probably said some things to each other that needed to be said.
If I could offer my death bona fides for a second. Having experienced both types of losses, one of my best friends died when we were 19 very, very suddenly, and having watched my mom essentially dying of cancer for the last 24 years, both are bad. You don't have to be, comparison shopping the types of grief. I think that it's good to feel grateful for the ability to say goodbye, because I think it does offer a type of closure that you don't necessarily get easily when someone dies suddenly, especially in an accident or in a way in which you can't really ever see them again. But everyone has their own process. Everyone has their own way of handling things. It doesn't matter how it happens or when it happens. Generally, when people close to you die, it rocks your world.
I would say, though, while we don't need to do comparisons, I don't know what's coming for me next, but wherever it is the stages of grief reside, mine, because of getting that last year to speak to him cleanly and clearly, will have no guilt. And to not have guilt after finality, I know that it comforts me to have the confidence of the knowledge, even while I have no idea what's coming next, that I'm not going to have guilt, that there was something left unsaid, undone, that I didn't apologize for, because I did have so much time to express myself and receive his forgivenesses for things that I got wrong.
And to see everything that happened yesterday with you just reminded me about me, Anita, and Aria. I lost my daughter. We were lucky enough to have 6 days with her. So the grieving process was a bit different. We knew what was going to happen when she was in the room. We were grateful to have those 6 days with her. But, what I want to do to have at least 1 minute just to see her one more time.
Brad Williams at the Miami Improv this weekend.
Tickets still available, everybody.
That a boy.
I am laughing here with Stugotz and at Stugotz because of just the general absurdity of there being no discernible market for Ron Say talk. Like, I don't know who he's doing that for unless he thinks 70-year-olds are downloading podcasts. Jessica,
this is an AM radio show.
Jessica, Tony, can you please tell me if you have any earthly idea? Do you want to guess who Ron Say the Penguin is?
Well, after Stugotz mentioned him for the first 6 times on Monday, I figured out he was a baseball player, but he kept calling him the Penguin. So for a few minutes, I thought he played for the Penguins.
Ooh, same. I thought he was a hockey player from 1950 or something. I don't know.
He was a Dodger, correct?
Brad, I would say that Ron Say physically has your build.
He's 4'4".
Oh, wow.
What? Why is he not a Hall of Famer?
He was called the Penguin because the way he ran was like a man who really had to shit and needed to find the nearest bathroom.
That's how my people run.
Wow.
He might be part dwarf. We don't know.
Ron Say was super small, Stugotz. Not 4'4" small, but he was super small.
He was super small. I would also argue, and listen, there are certain people when they're presented to me, they put a smile on my face, and I have to say yes. And Ron Say, for me, growing up, was one of those people. He's just a legendary baseball character, and that infield, I'll maintain, that might be, in fact, I'm going to say it, Dan.
I bet you it doesn't hold up numerically. I bet if we look at
the best infield of all time.
Wow.
A lot of people were saying that, but I imagine that if we look at the reference numbers the way that the advanced metrics are done now, my guess is it probably doesn't hold up.
All right, we're saying that Ron Say was a very small man. Ron Say was 5'10".
Oh, that's a lie.
That's got to be with spikes
That is not in any way true. No.
How is that supposed to make me feel, Dan?
That is fake news. That is not true.
Say it isn't so. I mean,
says on his bio, 5'10". He does not. He does not know the struggle.
I mentioned advanced stats, Stugotz. This is not an advanced stat, but I was fairly amazed when it is that I saw it. Perhaps I should not have been, given the kind of season that he had in 2004. But there is a stat on Barry Bonds that I can't believe and I could believe just because he was so ridiculous that year. Do you realize that if you went 2 for 5 with a home run and a single in every game that you played in a season, you would have a lower OPS than Barry Bonds had in 2004.
Come on.
If you went in every game, 2 for 5
right,
with a home run and a single,
you would have 162 homers.
That is correct. You would have 162 homers. That's true. You would have 162 singles. That's great math by you.
At least 162 RBIs, too. What a season.
Still would have lost to the Angels in the World Series.
And at least 200 hits. I mean,
that stat is from Thomas Carrier. I did not invent it. But speaking of baseball, last night, the Marlins, on a day of great enthusiasm, when they're going all in on we're trading for sluggers, we don't care if they get on base, we are scrapping the plan of just being people who go on base and no power. Let's get a couple of guys who have power but no on-base percentage. They're winning 1-0 in the ninth because Sandy is finally Sandy again. You're playing the Phillies. You're trying to get into the wild card race. I believe the Phillies are better than you are. That's not a shocking statement to make, but you're making some trades because you're going all in. And then David Robertson does David Robertson things, becomes the modern-day Heath Bell, coughs it up. We're going to go out to Marlins Park, where Billy and Chris Cote are, in a second. I don't know why they're both there. It's before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Incredible gig for them. They get to play in a celebrity softball game, I think I heard.
Who turned it down?
Who gets to leave work to go play in a celebrity softball game?
I think the rest of us turned it down to answer your question.
But the thing that happened in yesterday's game that I had not seen happen before, and I salute the Marlins for being the first major league team to produce the following. A streaker got away from security.
What?
Climbed over the center field wall and got away, and you could see him running through the corridors, and he escaped. I don't know if security was asleep, lacking. They chased him initially. It didn't seem like an indifferent security team, but they were unable to catch the streaker. And the streaker then just fled through the concourse. An incredibly long run, by the way. That ballpark is so large.
Mazy.
So large that I found myself in the middle of his running saying to myself that if I'd been running that long, I'd just been like, you know what, arrest me now. I don't want to keep running the rest of this concourse. It's an enormous labyrinth, cavernous labyrinth to nowhere.
You would just stop, turn around, and just put your hands out?
Yeah, I'm just like,
put the cuffs on.
Come on. But I haven't seen happen before a streaker actively get away.
Was he wearing shoes? An important thing
That's
for a
your
streaker.
question?
Yeah, you got to have sneakers on to be able to cut and do stuff and
Have
to
you thought
evade
about this?
people.
A little traction, yeah.
Maybe a couple times. But it's also the perfect crime, and I'll tell you why. You somehow break through, you get past security, you get up into the corridor, you got a buddy who gives you a bag, you throw some clothes on. I saw him go that way. Take off.
Oh, you got to change your
And
clothes.
you got to change your clothes, you throw it on, because the only thing that identifies you is nakedness, but now you're wearing clothes, you're good.
He's done like an Ocean's 6.5 inches on this.
Hey.
Forgive me, this is not a streaker. I guess when nudity is always involved with this. If I'm
I don't
calling
think
it a
so.
streaker, put it on the poll, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Does one have to be nude or partially nude to be considered a streaker? Because I don't know.
What are they otherwise?
I don't-
What's the nomenclature for clothed streakers?
A runner?
Trespasser.
I think field invader is what they call them, or like pitch invader.
Yeah,
Oof.
pitch invader is a thing in the UK.
Yeah.
Field invader sounds like a great nickname for an infielder.
Just playing next to Ron Say. back in the
Yeah,
70s.
Ron Say, and then next to him is the field invader.
It's a good movie poster. Interloper. Was nomenclature necessary there?
Yes, it was.
Chris Whittingham is a fancy lad.
Is back.
You want me to go identifier? Nomenclature was the right word there. What's the nomenclature
It was the
on,
right word.
on people who run onto the field? Because I think Tony was sort of going down a path of this guy was naked. This guy was fully clothed.
What do you call people who run on the field?
Yeah. What do you call people who run on the field?
No, but I'm saying
a streaker.
I know, but I'm saying
Oh.
you could have
No,
said
what's
that.
the
it's-
nomenclature? That's briefer, actually.
It's the right
More
word. Dan.
efficient.
Yeah.
The Marlins went all in. The Marlins traded a left-handed pitching prospect to get power guys, one of whom is under contract through 2028, and immediately lose in the heartbreaking fashion of our ace. Looks like our ace. He goes 8 innings, shuts down a Phillies lineup that is strong even with Bryce Harper struggling, and yet at the end the game gets coughed up.
I hate what they did last night because you make these big deadline deals and you want to show them off to the fans. When Sandy's going the way Sandy was going last night, 8 innings, he gave up 4 hits, 5 Ks. Like, let him go. Let him finish the game. Ron Say would be outraged. I mean, I'm serious.
He would be.
All 5'10" of the shortness of Ron Say
I'm telling you,
would
that
be
dude,
angry.
That dude was not 5'10".
He's 5'10".
Brad,
We've looked on three different stats.
Brad, you cannot believe Ron Say was overcompensating because he felt like he was tiny in that infield, especially standing next to Steve Garvey, whose forearms were bigger than Ron Say. and I'm telling you that he and his people. What? Are there a lot?
What do you mean, his people?
Are there a lot of 5'10" Penguins?
Emperor Penguin, maybe. I don't know.
Stugotz, your Mets.
Yeah.
350.
Dan, hold on a second. I've got news. Steve Garvey, also 5'10".
That's not possible.
No
I mean,
way.
no,
That's
no
just not. That's
way.
just.
He's
that's
not waddling
simply
like a
not
penguin,
true.
No way.
It's
They're
not
both
true.
5'10", 185. I don't know.
It's simply not.
How did they survive being that little in a big man's game at 5'10"?
Was Davey Lopes the smallest guy in that infield? I mean, what an infield, by the way. Bill Russell, amazing.
Stugotz, I'm promising you that does not hold up as they.
Davey Lopes, 5'9".
What?
He was shorter than the Penguin.
Where's Billy? Get him on. I mean,
There is no way that holds up as the greatest infield ever. That's what they were calling it in 1979.
Is this a Mandela effect thing where everyone just thought Ron Say was short, but he's not because he's 5'10"?
I need to find an authority now. I just saw
Sure people are talking.
BaseballReference.com has him as 5'10".
Tim Kirkshin was just on my television, and the second item on his resume that they put up every time someone is talking has covered baseball since 1979. That was the second thing it said on the screen. Can we just text him or call him and just ask him off air, please? Was Ron Say? In fact, I'm going to do this right now. Was Ron Say indeed 5'10"?
The dwarves are watching you, Dan.
Dan, Ron Say he really did have an incredible career for someone who's 5'5". I mean, he really did. He had years where he hit 30 homers, had 110 RBIs. Like, he had 316 career homers, 270, I think, career batting average. He was a heck of a player. I'm telling you, Kirkshin's going to fire back. Dodgers infield, certainly in his top 5 of all time. I could guarantee it. Good player.
All right, let me.
They don't make them like they made Ron Say. They just don't make them like that anymore.
They don't make 'em
I'm
like
telling
they
you.
used to.
And you can tell there was some friction with Steve Garvey because Garvey was better looking. He was definitely taller. I don't care what Baseball Reference says.
Okay.
But Garvey was better looking, and Garvey was the one who got all the love. It was not Ron Say. It wasn't Russell. It wasn't Davey Lopes.
Is Dan being fooled by like having watched this as a kid in standard def? And you don't have a perspective for how tall everyone is.
Yeah, maybe the aspect ratio was off.
Yeah.
And it was scrunching your screen.
Well, Dan's like 6'5", so yeah, of course, like 5'10" is very small to him.
It's the way he ran.
He waddled.
It was low to the ground. And I'm telling you that he was called the Penguin because he had very squatty legs that do not belong to an individual that is 5'10". His legs looked like they were compacted.
Did he have a 5-foot torso?
By the squareness of his torso. And it's correct.
I thought it was because he was trying to kill the Batman.
Oh, wow. Hey.
Chris Cote and Billy are out at Marlins Park. Chris Cote, are you batting right now in this celebrity softball game?
Up right now. I'm
Okay.
up right now.
All right.
Go.
Right now. Can we hear him,
What?
Billy? Are
Can
you
we
going to
wa-
give us play-by-play? Or
Watch
can
him.
can we hear him as the camera goes out and follow Chris Cote as he bats,
I can
camera
hear you.
person?
I feel like
Camera
like
person,
I'm
we
an
want to see
all-star
Chris.
game.
We don't want to see Billy.
So he wants to see Chris. He wants to see Chris.
Right.
Hey, Dan, it's Billy.
Hey, Bill.
All right,
Chris is
so
at the
here we
plate
go.
right
We've
now.
got a
It's been a
celebrity
disastrous
softball
game
game.
so
This
far.
was set up expertly and with the kind of efficiency that
We
you
got-
expect.
There
He's
we go.
calling his
He's
shots.
voting for
Metal
Oppo
Arc
Boppo.
Media,
Oh, there he goes. He's gonna. Oh, is that gonna fall in? Is he gonna go for 2? No, he's not.
a single.
All right, so
that's
Chris
what
got
we.
a single. And what is
okay.
he doing?
That's what we did. Okay, excellent work by all of us.
Yeah.
I
a,
should
gi-
have
a
been there.
giant payoff.
Is that Will Manso? He's everywhere.
Billy, give us the update there. Forgive me, I should probably tell the audience that for some reason Billy and Chris are playing in. Is it a celebrity softball game? Is celebrity surrounded by the greatest quotes you've ever seen? Because it's not actually celebrities.
Well, Dan, it's Billy. Hi, how are you? So this is what happened. We were invited to a media softball game on a Wednesday at 9 a.m. when most of these media members should be working. So what I thought was I should tell my bosses I wanted to do field work today. So I came out to the fields and started playing baseball, but I wasn't expecting a camera.
I love that.
Oh, Donovan Campbell right up the middle. There goes Chris. You going to go first or third? No.
I mean,
Come on,
Chris is
do some
station to
basic-
station. What is he doing?
Come on, let's go.
Realistically, camera person, we can hear Billy. Just keep looking at Chris because he's the one actually doing
Yeah,
stuff.
just look at Chris. John, just look at Chris.
Look at me.
We have an injury on the field, it seems, or someone lost a contact. Something's going on here.
Sorry, let's
Seems like
find
there's
it.
a
Let's
pitching
find
change.
it. Where is
Anyways,
it?
Dan,
Someone
we
lost
thought
a
it'd be appropriate to come out and play softball instead
Stay
of going
on
to
base,
work, 'cause
Chris.
That's what Lebo would have wanted.
I'm going to go listen to this huddle.
Chris, go back to second, please.
Don't get tagged out.
Camera guys. still
Anyways, a
not
big exciting trade deadline yesterday for the Fish, Dano. Lots of moves were made. Here to field any questions you like from the scene of all the action. I'm in the middle of the field, so let me get off of this.
Billy,
How's this going?
yeah,
Craig Mish
it's
is up.
going about as you would expect. If I put things in your hands and Billy's hands, it's going about that way. Billy,
Follow Chris.
yes, thank you for
Yeah.
all of the
Craig
order
Mish is
there.
up. Craig Mish.
We don't
Oh,
need to see.
Mishy.
Jason
I
Latimer's
mean-
on the field.
We don't need to see Billy. Well, I can hear his voice. That's fine. I want to watch Chris
that's
play
me.
baseball.
Yes.
There it is. That's what I.
Oh, he's out.
He's out.
That's what we came to see.
He got caught in a pickle.
That's what we came to
I got
see. Not
distracted.
Billy.
Got a little greedy like
He's the
Biggio.
guy
I
that you
mean-
guys think is this great softball player. I'll tell you how
It's this damn microphone in my ear. I don't know how many
playing-
outs there are.
Deflecting.
over his head and rolls to the home run on the second batter of the game.
He got tagged
Gotta
out
freeze
on a
on that.
pop fly to the shortstop.
That should be an infield fly rule. They
was a
shouldn't even be
force out.
eligible to be tagged out on that play. No one would do that.
It was a
Billy showing frustration with his teammate.
that I had today. The one goal that I had today was don't get hurt. That's all I want to do. And I promised myself I'm going to get into this.
All right, what I want to do is make
For
sure
today.
that whoever the camera person and audio people there are fired before they get back to the building. And I don't know.
I think
about,
they're on the Marlins payroll, Dan.
I don't know about Billy and Chris either if they're going to survive this. Billy, tell me what you think about your baseball team
sure.
trading for Jake Berger and Josh Bell. The Marlins went all
got
in
second?
and then lose. Chris, you got to stop talking to others as if you're not on the air right now. Just please shut up for a while unless I ask
Little
you a
baseball
question.
chat, Dan. You got to chat him up. I mean,
Yes, thank you.
Hey, bada.
Hey, better.
Billy, your thoughts
Playing
on what
first.
the Marlins did yesterday?
You know, there's some people out there that should have held on to some.
All right, let's go ahead and leave
Notes on all
Marlins
the
Park. Metal Arc Media is paying presently to do today's show. I'm thinking 20 to 25 people, some of whom I can hear.
I thought we're paying. We're paying for this. You mean they're not playing for free?
I wanted to get Marlins expert analysis here.
That was your first mistake.
You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to stop what we're presently doing. I'm going to stop.
Why would you do that?
We are going to start over, and we're going to fix our audio. We're going to take this off right now. We're going to stop going live on YouTube, and I'm going to start over. Thank you.
Well, this is live.